Hello and welcome to this IG Live, or recording as it were. I am Aleesha Hansel. I'm a wine writer, presenter and judge, and this month I was honoured to be asked to be the guest editor for the Drinks Trust newsletter. And seeing as it is Mental Health Awareness Month in America and Mental Health Awareness Week here in the UK, I thought it was the perfect opportunity to host this little IG Live and talk to some people in the industry about the challenges we face and some of the issues around mental health and well-being in our industry. So just whilst I am waiting for my guests to arrive, who are Winnie heads on at the Aubrey, and Drew Jaeger, who is co-founder of Club Soda, I just want to kind of rehash and just remind you all some of the great work that the Drinks Trust does. So the Drinks Trust is a drinks and hospitality charity. It's been going since 1886, and they've really got three key pillars that they look at. So assist is all about financial support, there's restore, which is about well-being, and then there's develop, which is about education and training. So today we are obviously going to be kind of focusing on that restore element, and in that restore element there are so many things that they offer. So first up, I just want to draw attention to the support line. So the Drinks Trust have partnered with Spectrum Life to offer a 24/7 support line for you to call up on, which is incredible. The number, if anyone needs that, is 0800 915 4610. All of the details, if you haven't got that, are on the website, which is drinkstrust.org.uk. I can see that Winnie has joined. If Winnie, you can just say, tap on in, and Club Soda as well. I need you to request. There we go. I'm just going to carry on saying what a few of the pillars are, and then I'll getting our two guests today. So the support line is fantastic, and that offers legal advice, financial advice, meditation, career coaching, life coaching. If you've got any issues with management, it's an absolutely fantastic service. They also offer mindful drinking advice, which is in partnership with Club Soda. So we will be finding out a little bit more about that with Drew. They've also got a sleep and insomnia improvement program backed by science, which is absolutely free. That's with Sleep Station. And then they've also got talking therapies. This is face-to-face counselling. And the Drinks Trust will offer that at no cost, 3 sessions up front. And then if the doctor thinks that you need to talk a little bit more, they can offer up to 10 sessions for free. Just incredible. And I think, we work in an industry, the drinks and hospitality industry is one that does not really parlay with the idea of well-being and mental health. We have irregular hours, we've got average wages, which, is a real issue at the moment with the cost of living crisis. And of course, lots of alcohol. So it kind of goes against everything that the doctors tell you, which is, sleep more, cut down in booze, exercise, etc. So we will be joined. And Winnie, I just need you to click request. And I think whilst we're in an industry, hello Drew, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Whilst we're in an industry, it's literally in the title, hospitality. We have to be hospitable, we have to be friendly. That means putting on a friendly face. So it can be really difficult to talk to each other about issues when you're trying to put on this, like, we're going to be, all hospitable. So, Winnie, if you can just request to join, and then we can get started. But whilst we're just waiting for Winnie, actually, Drew, so you are a co-founder of Club Soda. You obviously are part of the Mindful Drinking Partnership with Drinks Trust. So just tell us a little bit more about Club Soda and what you do.
Yeah. So Club Soda started in 2015. We are a mindful drinking movement. We run a tasting room on Drury Lane in London. If you want to come and try incredible alcohol-free drinks, have alcohol-free cocktails at our bar, you're very, very welcome to come and see us. But we were set up really to support people to find ways to change their drinking in ways that work for them. We've done a lot of work over the years with the hospitality and drinks industry. And so for us, our partnership with the Drinks Trust is something that we're really proud of. It lets us talk to people in an industry that we all care about, who are struggling to find a balance between personal drinking and professional drinking. My work in Club Soda is all about helping people to cut down and quit and find a relationship with alcohol that works for them. And I think when you're surrounded by booze every day, finding that balance can be really challenging. One of the things that we did in kind of developing our approach was talk to people who work in the industry. And one of the things that we heard, which was really genuinely shocking, I'm not a hospitality person by background, by the way, but as an outsider, I found really shocking, was what felt like in some places a coercive drinking culture. Like, if I'm going to work here, I have to do shots with the team. We always have beers after work. And if I don't do that, I feel like a real outsider. And so for people who are trying to find some boundaries in their drinking, that can be a real challenge. So yeah, our partnership with the Drinks Trust is all about, if you work anywhere in the UK drinks industry and you want to rethink your own drinking habits and find a bit of balance, then you can be fully funded to take one of our courses and everything else that comes along with that, webinars and Telegram groups and all sorts of different things that we can do to help you work out how to drink mindfully and live well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Winnie, I cannot add you from here. It won't let me. Oh, there we go. You've invited now. I think you've. Please answer. So that is really excellent. Oh, there we go. Hello, Winnie. Oh, I see some snacks there.
Yeah. Give me a moment. I've got to turn the screen over.
There we go. Welcome.
It didn't work. It didn't work on my laptop. Drew, please continue.
It's okay. I'm going to. So Winnie's now joined us. It's Winnie Tosh, she's head song at the Aubrey. And just in case you didn't get that before, that's Drew Jaeger, co-founder of Club Soda. So I think, you know, as I mentioned at the beginning, it is an industry that we've kind of got to put a bit of a face on with our customers. So it's difficult to talk about mental health. So I think the best thing for us to do to start it off in the deep end is talk about some challenges that might spring to mind that you have faced. So for instance, I am a writer now, but I originally started working in retail. And I definitely remember there being rude customers, let's say. And I can imagine that with you, Winnie, that's exactly the same in your restaurant. So I guess maybe let's talk about the mistreatment of staff by guests. And, you know, that's definitely a challenge that I've found. So, yeah, what other challenges have you, Winnie, faced that you're comfortable in telling us?
I mean, in the workplace, the last... after, I think really post-COVID, it's been super difficult to keep up just because, you know, every restaurant's short of staff. So people get burnt out and everyone's upset with each other. They're upset with customers, they're upset amongst colleagues. And that is the main challenge throughout working in a restaurant or being a som right now. And thankfully, I think most customers are quite empathetic. They do realize the shortage of staff within the industry, so we don't have a lot of rude call-outs. But I think the general problem in hospitality right now is, you know, burnout, and it reflects in all aspects. I just think staff, colleagues aren't as nice to each other as they should be anymore. Yeah, and just pardon me if there are some screeches coming from the background. I have a baby right behind.
Yeah, well, that is something I wanted to touch on, actually, and it's one of the reasons I wanted to get you on, Winnie, because I think maternity and parenthood in the drinks industry, especially when you're on the front line as a som, is really something that's not spoken about, actually. You know, how you deal with still carrying on working when you're pregnant, flexible working hours, maternity leave. So yeah, that is something that we will definitely come on and speak to, because I think it's such an important topic and issue. But Drew, is that burnout something that you've seen with people coming to Club Soda as well, that have spoken to you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There is definitely, you know, when you've already got a long hours culture, you know, people don't blink twice about working a 14-hour shift, you know, and then, you know, push on into overtime beyond that. You know, already working a long hours culture, really working unsocial hours. One of the things that we know from the research, for example, on exercising willpower is that that's really challenging. Two reasons. One is when you're in a bad mood, and the other is when you're experiencing distress. So if you're coming off the end of a long shift where you've been faced with difficult customers, maybe you've had a run-in with, you know, everyone's had that argumentative chef, it's been a really bad time. It's completely understandable how people's intentions to not drink or to not take drugs or whatever it is that people are, you know, their go-to unwind kind of instant fix, how it is really hard to resist that, because so much about your working life kind of mitigates against that kind of general sense of well-being. So we absolutely see that. We absolutely see that burnout that people experience, and helping people find the space and the boundaries, working out how to the basics of, like, how am I going to feed myself? How am I going to make sure I get a decent amount of sleep? All of those things are so fundamental to your well-being, but they're the first things that go by the wayside when you are, you know, working every moment of the day and night.
Yeah. So actually you started Club Soda because you've got a background working as a writer and researcher in the wellbeing space.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah. So, I mean, you've just mentioned there, you know, trying to have the willpower. I appreciate, you know, there are other ways of support through the Drinks Trust, like counselling and more talk-to-talk therapy, and you're not necessarily a counsellor, but do you have any tips that you can give anyone watching this that you think are really good takeaways to just start to get the ball rolling, to be able to, yeah, just look after ourselves a little bit better?
Yeah, certainly when it comes to alcohol, the number one thing that we can do is actually start to pay attention. You know, most of us who drink actually don't really pay attention very much to what it is that we're drinking, and particularly the circumstances in which we're drinking. So just noticing, you know, those moments where you're drinking and it's accompanied by a bad mood, or at the end of a difficult shift, or the ways in which people start to drink to cope. One of the stories that we heard we have a podcast at the moment called Beyond Booze, which is all about different stories from inside the drinks industry about people who've made alcohol-free brands, and people who work behind bars who don't drink. And one of the amazing stories we heard recently was from Davide Sagat, who runs the bar service at Nomad Hotel, and he talked about how there was a moment for him where drinking to socialise flipped over into being drinking to cope. And he realised that he needed to do something about it. So it's just starting to notice, what are the patterns of drinking that are turning up in my life? But more broadly, thinking about, what are the ways in which I can support my well-being, and noticing when that's challenged. You know, because I think sometimes when it comes to change, and particularly when we're feeling overwhelmed, we feel like we need to change everything all at once, but very often it's little things that you can do. So identifying the quick, easy wins is going to be really key in helping you then build the confidence to make more substantial changes. So I would always suggest that people find an easy win, start small and build from there.
That reminds me of, like, you know, I don't know, when it comes to New Year's resolutions and you're like, I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week and I'm going to diet, and you do 2 days and it's gone, right? But if you say to yourself, oh, maybe I'm going to just go out for a walk around a few streets, and you build that up, it's just those building blocks of small things you can tick off to give you the confidence of doing it, as opposed to going all in. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And Winnie, you know, you are on the front line, so is kind of, how difficult has it been? Have you seen it in other people, like being mindful? And I guess what's interesting with you in particular is how much more mindful were you, or did it were you a bit shocked by it once you became pregnant?
So yeah, I was shocked that I became pregnant. that's a first.
Being pregnant.
I mean,
were you more mindful about what you were drinking after shift, maybe?
Yeah, so truth be told, I mean, I spent the last 2 years of my life preparing to become a master sommelier. And, I've been in the beverage industry for almost 20 years. I know I look quite young, but I'm not. What happened is, I've done my time. I've drunk back in the days, and these days, thankfully, I drink when I socialize, but I didn't used to go out very often. And I think many years ago, I told myself, you prioritize your liver. It's very important. Being in the hospitality industry requires stamina. If you want a long career, you've got to know when to say no. And that's very important. You'd always be tempted to go for drinks because that's what people do after shift. Hey, let's go for a pint. That's what they say all the time. But you could go for a pint, but you need to know when to say just one and I'm done. You've got to put in the work. You've got to learn how to treat yourself well, and you've got to go home and get that few hours of sleep. And that's super important. And I think more and more people are actually practicing mindfulness and self-love. There's a lot going on social media post-COVID, and I think more and more millennials are taking care of themselves, which is good. But most importantly, you've got to surround yourself with good company. You've got to be smart about who you hang around with. If someone's not good for your mental health, too many drinks in a week, then you've got to just learn to say no. Hey, I'm heading back. But being pregnant, of course, you've got to watch your diet. You've got to watch your rest. And you've got to know how much you can exert yourself at work and when you've got to stop. Thankfully, I've had a great team and the bosses were very supportive. So they always made sure that, I was okay. HR was very supportive. I work for the Mandarin Oriental, and they take care of the employees as well as they take care of their guests. So it wasn't a bad pregnancy. It was a smooth journey.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really, really great to hear, actually. Do you have any, obviously don't say names, but did you hear in your community about other women who had been pregnant and not had such a great experience as you?
Actually, no, not really. At first, very few of my friends have joined me in the clan of motherhood, so I don't really have anyone to name. But when I found out I got pregnant as a sommelier, I think the main challenge was how do you work in the drinks industry being pregnant?
Mm-hmm.
And I started to reach out. I went on social media. I started to follow somms who are moms, master sommeliers who are moms, and see, just follow their journey and see what's going on. And I think most recently, Quina published an article about Honey Spencer and how her employees supported her through the journey. I think, you've got to go reach out and, find ways to help yourself. I think that's the most important. Truth be told, I'm still on maternity leave. I don't know how it's going to be once I get back to work, but I think it's baby steps, one step at a time. Yeah. And you've got.
Literally, it might be baby steps.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important thing that you mentioned there. Just by the way, if anyone doesn't know, she's referring to Queen Wong of Curious Vines. Mm-hmm. And I just want to mention, so the Drinks Trust do have a dedicated member platform, which is all about building community as well. So I think that's a really important thing to do with well-being, is talking to each other, networking, giving each other support and talking and finding those people who are in the same situation as you. I think that's really important. I think what's interesting is how I'm just intrigued actually. How did you find people when you were visibly pregnant were reacting to you? Because, you know, we take a lot, we absorb a lot, don't we, of other people's emotions? I mean, I do. So I wonder if that's, you know, it's not just, we talk about well-being and it's looking insularly, which we absolutely should, but sometimes it's difficult to just, you know, not taking other people's impressions or what they say of us as well. So how did you find it when you were visibly pregnant and working on the floor?
So, you know, I kept my pregnancy a secret from my colleagues for the first 6 months. No one knew except my immediate bosses.
Was that was a conscious reason because you didn't want to be treated any differently? Because you didn't...
Yeah, I didn't want them to, you know, get overprotective. I think that's what happened. And when it finally got really visible by the 7th month, honestly, it was a pleasant surprise. Guests were intrigued. They were to see a pregnant Psalm on the floor, being very active. They wanted to hear my story. They wanted to know how I cope. And of course, I got a lot of support. And, you know, being able to talk about it really helps because, you know, I may not have a lot of colleagues who are moms, but there are a lot of, you know, guests that frequent the restaurant who have gone through parenthood. And I think it's important that they appreciate the work we try to do. And of course, my colleagues, when they eventually found out, they did become overprotective, but I think it's just a way of caring. I've been with the Aubrey team since opening, so we were quite close, most of us. I'm very grateful for the company that I work for. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, it's really nice hearing that they were overprotective. Drew, just out of interest, do you have any aggregated data on different groups within the industry? So, for instance, like the pregnant people that work within it and what they come to you for, or is it at the moment? Are you is that something that you're looking to do in the future?
Yeah, the honest answer is no. We do, I mean, I guess one of the things is just to recognise that, particularly when it comes to alcohol, people have all sorts of motivations for needing or wanting to change, you know, and I've discovered I'm pregnant for many people is like oh, okay, I just need to stop now. That's not always an easy thing to do. I think we need to be honest about that. That could be a real challenge for people. But people coming into our community want to change their drinking for all sorts of different reasons and at all sorts of different life stages as well. One of the things which I'm always really keen to tell people is don't wait until somebody else tells you that it's a problem. At that point, it's become a disaster and it's so much harder to pull back from it. If you've noticed something about a habit in your drinking or something about a way in which your mental health isn't working or something about your diet, which is little things, if you start to notice those little things and act on them before it becomes a big issue, you're actually making it so much easier for yourself to deal with rather than waiting until it's a huge disaster and everyone's organising an intervention.
Oh gosh, no, I hope not. And I wanted to pick up on another thing that you said there, Winnie, was about you were studying for your MS. And I think that's the pressure now. I would not dare put myself through an MW or an MS. I couldn't do it. But, you know, that's another thing, isn't it? The pressure of not only actually absorbing the information, but putting it on yourself to do these really stressful exams, you know, wanting to pass first time, as we all want to. How have you dealt with that? How are you like pulling back and kind of not getting overawed by that?
So, you know, I've sat for the MS before. This year's gonna be my second attempt. And I think the biggest fear I felt was back in 2017 when I sat for the advanced exams for the first time. And I went in completely distressed. There was no sleep. But I walked out and I said, hey, I'm so glad I did this because You know, you challenged yourself. You put yourself through a routine for the longest period of time. It still isn't about fame. It still isn't about accolades. It's about, you know, reaching your highest potential. I think you need to realize that sorry, Drew, but a lot of men walk into these exams and it's all about being an accomplished gentleman, coming out and become one of 300 master sommeliers in the world. And I'm not that kind of person. So I do it because I want to learn. Because I want to contribute. So when I'm preparing for exams, I always tell myself, don't be too hard on yourself. You know, you do the best you can. You put in the hours, but you need to balance your life. Balance is so important. You have to have a hobby. You know, you've got to prioritize your friends, your family, and I think now with a child, it's even more important. Yeah, and there is a fear factor when you go for these exams, but you've got to note the process and say, hey, where did I start from? I started because I want to learn, I want to keep growing, and I want to be a mentor. So if you keep having, you know, the beginning in mind, you'll eventually reach the end. Yeah, so that's I think that's what drives me, and I'm never too stressed or fearful about these exams, because you go in, you do it for as long as it takes, until you say, maybe it's not my thing anymore, maybe I have something new that I want to learn. And yeah, it's a process, but never be too hard on yourself. So
yeah. And Drew, I know, as I mentioned previously before Club Soda, you are obviously a researcher in the wellbeing space. And Winnie mentioned there about hobbies. Now, I guess hobbies can be very difficult when we are in an industry where we're working long hours. We're working usually holidays, which means we're not spending time with friends and family. Is hobbies, something that you have previously spoken about in your wellbeing work? How important are hobbies?
Yeah, it's really important. You know, I think I just wanted to echo what Winnie said about not being hard on yourself. I think so many of us carry around just completely unrealistic expectations about what we can achieve and what we can do, and actually giving ourselves some slack, recognizing that we're doing the best with the resources that we've got, you know, I think is a really important thing. But yeah, actually one of the things which can really help us in supporting our well-being is finding ways to connect, and very often hobbies are a great way of doing that. You can get very narrowly focused on the group of people that you work with and maybe the people that you live with, but actually we're social creatures. For a lot of us, that's what can drive our drinking, is that need to kind of connect with others. But actually finding positive, healthy ways to help us cope is a really good thing. You know, I think we kind of look down on coping as a word as if it's a terrible thing, but actually life is really hard. You know, we all need resources and other people to draw on, and some of that comes through the social connections that we make through hobbies. There's a really lovely example of that at the moment. I don't know whether you've seen that Healthy Hospo have just launched a chess club, so that you can hang out with other people in hospitality and go and play chess. I love that, you know, just as a completely different, let's not go to a bar, let's just sit and very concentratedly play chess for an hour. I think that's wonderful, but that is just, it's another way to kind of build that resource of resilience which helps you deal with life stresses, is by finding ways to replenish yourself and doing things finding the things that you love. That's absolutely the key.
Yeah. I wish it wasn't chess though, because I'm not that great at that. Maybe if it was like, I don't know, something Connect 4.
Connect 4, yeah.
That.
I'm down with that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, both of you. You've been so informative. It's been great to get a frontline view from you, Winnie, and Drew, with your background in facilitating and researching in Club Soda. You've given some great handy tips, both of you. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Great.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
For anyone else, please do check the Drinks Trust website, which is drinkstrust.org.uk. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.